Lionsgate Portal Masterclass. Are you ready to step into your most abundant timeline? That's what today's all about. And really, every single second is a time to choose different, to change your perspective, to see things differently, as A Course in Miracles would say. But as we are in this time and space of the material world, there is different energies we can play with, different universal laws, like the law of attraction. Like we know law of gravity, but there's the law of attraction, law of gestation, law of assumption, which is such a big one. And so this is just another energetic field we can tap into while we're here in the 3D world. And I don't know if you feel it. I'm feeling it because you guys may know, but I am a lion, a Leo. My birthday was on July 28th, which is the opening of the 888 Lionsgate portal. And today is really the 888 because we are in year 2026. And so then that makes up the eight. And we're also in the universal year one. We know there's just different cycles that we go through. And you get to choose. Are you going to feel powerful or are you not? And energy doesn't lie. You've probably felt people's energy when they walk in the room. Like all of a sudden somebody walks in and maybe you feel expansive and you feel lit up, or someone walks in the room and then you'll feel like a little turned off, or you'll feel maybe not empowered. You'll feel that dark energy. You'll feel uncomfortable. You'll feel uncertain. So energy does not lie. And so this is going to be really a two-part masterclass where it's going to be one part remembering the truth of who we are, and then one part being a body in the material world. So what I teach is I want to give a little bit of backstory about me, and then we'll go into what the Lionsgate portal is and really how it's aligning the three different planets. And so this is going to be good. This is going to be good. It's all about intention setting. So really this is a time to, so the portal opens July 28th, 1988, and 1988, that's when I was born. That's 888 too. That's kind of fun. I always roll my tongue because I say it so often. Like, when's your date of birth? No, but it opened. So we're in 2026 now. So it opened July 28th and it goes until August 12th. And that's when just, and today, the 8-8, just because of the numerology in this is when energy is most powerful. So today is the perfect day to be in a masterclass like this. It's a perfect day to journal, to do some of these practices I'm going to be teaching around manifestation, because, I feel like that's what we're here to do on the earth plane. We're here to be a happy dreamer. We're here to wake up from the dream. We're here to learn lessons and just live life in a joyful, peaceful, loving manner as God had intended. And so sometimes waking up, and feeling your best, feeling at peace, manifesting the money, manifesting the prosperity, manifesting whatever it is that you truly desire can feel hard and it can feel challenging. But the thing is, we're going to be learning how to walk maybe with our fears, if we are still here, so there's still some fear, and doing it anyways and learning to trust every step of the way. Okay, so I want to just say like a little bit about me, because like, who am I? Why am I teaching this? So my name is Terry, and so I teach a lot from this little book, A Course in Miracles, and it is metaphysical text. It's really a self-study text, but it's very helpful when you can have teachers who have gone through the course. And it says to be a teacher of God, in the Course in Miracles sense, is you've gone through 365 days of the lessons, that you're, ready and willing and committed to doing this work. And I really am. I've taught this metaphysical work of A Course in Miracles, just for the last, I would say 7 years I've done it. It just, there's no time, but that just flew by. But I do workshops online. I do workshops at Unity, just different study groups, speaking engagements. I love it. And I also wrote this book, A to Z Happy. They say that about 1% of the people who want to write a book actually complete it and publish it. So that's pretty cool. I think the number might be going up, but maybe not. It's kind of, my circle that I'm in. It feels like there's a lot of authors, but that's why it's so important to get yourself in an environment where it feels normal. Success feels normal. Writing a book feels normal. Because that's really one of the biggest keys to success that I found. Because once I went to this is a little side tangent, but perfect for learning manifestation. So when I went to this event by Lisa Nichols, and you might know her, she's on the movie The Secret. She is just an amazing, amazing teacher. A lot about the law of attraction, abundance. We're talking about abundance with this 8-8, infinity sign, just, you know, expansive, creative, everything, all inclusive, oneness. So I went to her event, Speak and Write to Make Millions. And so at that event, I was like, okay, give me a sign if I'm meant to sign up with her because I love her teachings. It's feeling good. There's a couple different offers at the end of it. What am I supposed to do? And so then somebody hands me an invitation to go into her suite to talk to her about, some of the programs she's doing. And she was doing a dynamic woman mastermind group retreat. And so there was a lot of, speaking right to make millions. So a lot of people were authors. There was author coaches, publishers, book publishing companies that were there. And so I'm like, okay, everyone's writing a book. Like, I need to write a book now. So yeah, you just normalize it. So normalizing success by being around people who are successful, because then it's like, okay, well, not only do you have the connections. So I had the book coach and the book publishing company. Then you have the other people that are doing it. It just feels normal. So, anyways, a little side tangent about me, but how you can manifest quicker is by getting in an environment of people who've already done what you've done. And it really helps if they've been where you've been. I did have one coach who said, like, "Oh yeah, he's successful, but he's like, I've always like I have the success codes unlocked. I've always been successful. Like basically his parents were successful, but it makes it harder because they not all, nothing's really hard unless you think it's hard. So we're gonna talk a lot about belief too today. The thing is, if someone's been where you've been and then you can see that they've overcome different obstacles, then they can teach from an embodied place of, "I know where you've been, and I can take you to where you wanna go." Because his stance on this was, "Oh, I've always been this way, I can teach it in a more embodied way because I've been embodied longer." But really, like, he's been around these successful people longer. It's like, I just watched the Kobe documentary with, my fiancé, another manifestation, and I get married next week. It's been wild. Just been up, doing wedding planning, like, super late every night, so this was kinda crazy to do 8 AM, but I'm here for it. You gotta just make a decision, commit to yourself, and then stick with it, follow through. So anyways, in the Kobe documentary, his dad was in the NBA, and so he would sit courtside watching him play, and so it's like, that is in itself a whole different type of, environment, knowing, normalizing, and so it's not like you have to go through it. So anyways, all this to say, get a mentor that's, like, been where you've been and is where you wanna be, because then they know what you're gonna go through. They know, the mindset shifts. They know, like, the paradigms that, you're going in and out of, like, holding back to that old self, like, wanting to pull you back, to safety and comfort, not necessarily expansion, because expansion and growth can feel uncomfortable, just like going to the gym and you're building your muscles. It's uncomfortable when you're sore. And, you won't like it, like, in the middle of a run, you're like, "Okay, this sucks," but not always, and you can do exercise you love, you could dance and weight lift, and learn to love it because and then, the feeling after is gonna be euphoric, like, maybe not euphoric for you, but I get this high, after I sweat and I just have such a good workout, I'm just like, "Yeah, that was great." Not necessarily in the middle of, like, lifting heavy, but afterwards, I just feel so accomplished. That's really a positive psychology pillar too, accomplishment. There's like this PERMA method in positive psychology. Accomplishment is really big and really delayed gratification in a lot of things because I'm not gratified in that moment, but knowing that it's going to. So keeping the end in mind and just enjoying the journey. A lot of people are telling me that with wedding planning, just enjoy the journey, because what happens is you're going to get the wedding day and it's going to be a blink, because it's like, so it's 6 hours of a day and then it's gone, and like you're planning for a whole year. Even though I kind of waited last minute, I feel like it's like this last month countdown. I'm like, okay, everything needs to happen. But that's okay, whatever works for any of us. And yeah, it's never like failure, it's always learning. So it's like you can't get it wrong. You just pivot, you just learn and keep going. All right. So okay, so that was a little bit okay. I don't know if I really talked that much about me, but I do think it's important to tell where we were and tell where we're going. So for me, when I was younger, I really felt a victim of my life. I felt like life was happening to me, like, I had no say in the matter. I don't know if you guys ever felt like that, let me know if you have, but it's like life is happening to me. I didn't feel like the powerful creator that is actually the one creating my life circumstance, and I get to choose, how I perceive what's happening to me and the meaning I make of it. But at the time, I remember being young, and if you follow me, you probably know the story, I wrote about it in my book, but I was bullied as a child with my stepsisters, and they wouldn't have thought it was bullying, and, as you grow up, you get kind of your memory fades, with as you get older, but, for them, it was maybe just being a playful, sibling, and they kind of tease each other, and now I get it because I have stepkids, and so I see them, like, poke at each other and, just get in each other's way and, like, get a little, I don't know, a rise or get, like, just excited. I don't know what the word is. They just, like, enjoy, like, making fun of each other sometimes, and so, that's just kind of siblings, and I didn't get that when I was younger because I was just so excited. I was really just a sweet girl, like, only child for a while, and I wanted to have siblings, and so, yeah, that playfulness, but there also was really some truth in it because they had an uncle that came and they were like, "Terry, you are gonna sit down next to me." And this is when I realized it's not in my mind. It was their uncle, and he said, "No, you're gonna sit next to me, and we're gonna watch them do the work now." Because I was always doing all the chores and all the work, and they would blackmail me if I didn't do the chores. And this was really interesting too because if you are showing up and sharing your message and sharing your story, there's going to be other people that don't see things the way that you saw them, and that's okay. This is your worldview and your feeling of what you went through, and so yeah, it was a little hard for me to share this story in the beginning because I'm like, well, what are they gonna say? And of course, they were like, oh, that wasn't the intention, and we loved you so much when we were growing up, and and that was true. We had some happy moments of going to the movies and Great America, and to the snow, water skiing. So it's like it wasn't like all bad, but a lot of it's too how I perceived it and what I chose to focus on, and so I let that mean about me with the bullying that, like, I was a problem. I let that mean, something was wrong with me, and I let those thought patterns get so repetitive and so loud in my mind that I ended up creating a plan to end my life, which as an 8-year-old child, like, I have a 10-year-old stepdaughter who I watched grow up since she was 4, and so, yeah, it does make me really sad to think, like, wow, that's such a young age to have felt that, but it's not like, I don't think it's as uncommon, like or maybe I don't know, 'cause that's what happens when it's, like, your life, you think everyone's going through it, but, yeah, actually, me and my stepdaughter had a conversation about, trauma, and she said, "I don't think I've been through any trauma," and I'm like, "That's amazing." But I just let her know, some of the things you have gone through, have not always been easy, and, she's strong for that. So anyways, another side tangent. Alright, let's get into this 8-8 Lionsgate portal. So that's a little bit about me. So I've not always been, um my little wedding stuff over there. Um, I've not always been somebody that can just show up and be confident. So after that, the thoughts of like, okay, I don't want to be here anymore. I actually created a plan to end my life, and from all of that, I let it mean, like my voice didn't matter. I didn't matter. I played really small. I didn't want to be seen. So now that I speak on stages and I'm on YouTube. I had my Tuesdays with Terry channel, very open on social media. Got tens of thousands of followers, which I'm just so grateful for because I really want to spread this message and just let us know that we are just loved beyond measure. And that's really where the abundance comes from because, we are loved because we are that child of God. And I'll get into more of that as we go along. So that's a little bit about me. I was not always, confident, felt like a master manifester. I've traveled to, I don't know, like 32 different countries. That was like on a vision board of mine. Once I started traveling, I got the travel bug and I was like, I want to go everywhere. And I've been able to do that in such beautiful ways, and I didn't always know that how it was gonna happen. I just knew what I wanted, and I felt myself there, and, like, then you show up. So I can share a couple different stories on manifestation. I'd love to hear yours too, like, what are some things you've manifested? Because it's really important that you anchor in a moment. Anchor in a moment, anchor in a time that you've done it before. So then it's not like this far off concept, like, "Oh, I'm gonna manifest 5-star luxury travel. I'm gonna manifest, the love of my life. I'm gonna manifest, a house. I'm gonna manifest" it's all possible, and the thing is, nothing's bigger or smaller with the universe. So a penny in $1 million is not. The only thing is our thoughts about it, our resistance to it, and us making it bigger or smaller. So you might have said like, "Oh, I want to get a parking spot. I'm just gonna go straight to the front, even though it's a busy parking lot. I'm gonna go straight to the front. And I'm gonna find a parking right in front." And then you'll find it, and it's like you were so convicted, so certain. Maybe you even waited a little bit, waited, for someone to come out and then parked, but it's like you were determined, you made the decision, you were gonna just park in the front, and then it happened because it's like we're powerful creators. We can make that happen. And really, when you get into the quantum physics of it, it gets so interesting. Like everything, just with the double slit experiment, everything is just kind of, atoms are all moving at a different pace. And so nothing takes physical form until really we have an observer at it, which is crazy. But the double slit experiment says that two particles, so particles are going through these two double splits. They're going through it. And the only time that it has this straight line is when it has a camera, an observer watching what the particles are going to do based on what the expectation of their observing is. And so it's just really fascinating. It just gets so fascinating once you dive really deep into metaphysics. And so I know this Course in Miracles. And if you guys have read this book, let me know. I feel like I have just been more and more around people that are like getting it, and I love it. And that's like, the importance of community because you just feel like you're not alone in this. People get you. Because I know with different family, they don't understand. It's like my dad, he worked a job for 30 years, like 33 years, and then retired. And that was what he wants me to do because that was safe and that worked for him. But like the lifestyle, it's like taking advice from, somebody where you want them, where you want to be. Like you never want to take advice from like somebody's not happy in their relationship. You don't want to try to take relationship advice from them. If they're not healthy, don't take health advice from them. If they didn't live the lifestyle you live, he was like very stressed. I mean, he felt a lot of sense of pride. Maybe that's because, the masculine and feminine energies. Like, he felt a lot of pride in what he did. But just day to day, it wasn't my type of happiness. Maybe that, brought him joy, like at the end of a workout, brings you joy at the end of the day that you did a good deed. Anyways, yeah, we really got to live our own self-expression. And that's one of the biggest things that I've learned over these last couple months. So I had this job at my old school where I got my master's. I have an MBA. And so where I got my MBA, which was perfect, I ended up going to teach business and it ended up being really great. But recently I went back there to work in admissions to help other people get their MBAs. And the work itself was great. It's kind of like coaching. You're just on the phone with people. I enrolled a lot of people. I was doing really great. Yeah, they had said I had surpassed, some of the other people in the time I had been there and how many enrollments. I think like tripling it. So I did really great in the enrollment process when I was there. Because like coaching, it's like what I love to do. I talk to people, but the management, the leadership, just we did not vibe in the sense of like leadership styles. So that wasn't gonna work for me. And what had happened was um yeah, so my I've seen people that, they were off work, um, and they were just getting compensated for it. So I was like, I want that too. And then I ended up, this was like not like I definitely didn't want to get hurt, but I did hurt myself. And then they were like, oh, you have to report it. I was just gonna get a couple of days off. So I didn't even think about it. And this is what happens. Like you won't know. Sometimes you look in hindsight and you're like, oh man, that's why. And that's why you want to anchor in a moment. But I would just like hurt my like just lifting and I would hurt myself and then they're like, oh, you have to report it because this is a HR issue. You at work doing an event. And so I did think I just took a couple of days off, came back, let them know what happened, and then I ended up getting months off of work. And so this is something I had thought about and I had wanted. Um, and I didn't put a lot of anything around it. I didn't it was just kind of like I want it, I let it go. It wasn't like, can I have this? Can I not have this? Is this possible? It was just like, this is something I want to experience. This is what I want to go through. And yeah, and it was just so divine. And then I got some time off to really reflect and think about what I wanted to do. And then it was getting time to be like, okay, it's time to make a decision. Are you going back? Are you not going back? And I really didn't want to go back, but it was like, okay, it's time to go back. And then they ended up, so enrollment had dropped. They ended up not being able to have the position any longer. So then I got let go. And that's part of the magic of manifesting too. It may look like things are crumbling. It may look like things are falling apart, but it's really like you have to break the current cycle, pattern, paradigm. Like things need to change. You have to make space for the things that you want. So Yeah, so it was just a beautiful, letting go, releasing a lot of what Lionsgate's about in order to bring in new, to make space for what you truly do want, and then taking action on that. So, it's so interesting. Course in Miracles says I need do nothing, and I really love that, and believe it. I really like Course in Miracles. The reason I believe it is just because it feels right, and I had this moment of revelation where, like, all time and space was suspended. I just, I'd kind of woken up and started doing meditation practices, which is something, I highly encourage, just to get silent. There's 2 different types of meditations I like to do. One is a silent meditation. Sometimes I do guided meditations on my phone or put some frequencies or music on, and that's beautiful. Being in nature, just sitting in the grass, that's another one where, you're feeling into the energy of, the 3D world of time and space, because nature, it just has really good vibrations, like the waves. I don't know the frequency of the waves, but I know that it's a very peaceful frequency, so when you're around it, you can probably feel that too. That's like feeling the energy. You'd feel that frequency, that energy of peace being, near the ocean. But even trees, grass, or, it's like flowers, it's like they have that, beautiful, beautiful vibration you can be in. So that's why being in nature is really great. So anyways, I do silent meditations. Also meditations where it's like I'm visualizing, it's like a manifestation mind map, but not even necessarily manifesting, because you're manifested in this mind map movie that I'll do. And so that's kind of like a visualized meditation where you're just living in the end, living in the state of the wish fulfilled. And so when you do that, you're telling your nervous system, you're telling your body, like, it's already done. So now you relax, because it's not like I have to do something, because it's already done. And so if it's already done, then you just kind of have fun with it. You just play with it. You just get to enjoy the manifested reality of it. And I think this is really, really important to think of it already done. It's really everything. And if you listen to the metaphysics too, if you're following me, you probably do. Neville Goddard, he talks a lot about, like, living in the end, using your imagination. Also Joseph Murphy. I love Florence Scovel Shinn. I have this book, Game of Life, and How to Play It, which is just amazing. It's just like we live in a thought world, and Course in Miracles says that too. I love listening to books, teachers, courses that all kind of say the same thing, maybe in a little bit different way. And Course in Miracles is all paths are necessary. And that's why when there's a manifestation teacher, when there's a spiritual teacher that's teaching things a little different than I do, like, I don't get turned off. And at first I did get turned off, because I'm like, I don't think that's the right way. But it's like we're all going, we're all one with God. We're all, in my belief, in heaven already, just having, this experience of time, space, of being a human in an imagined dream reality, just kind of like a fun thought, but it seems like it takes eternity. But some people talk about reincarnation in different lifetimes, and I used to believe that too, which is why all paths are necessary, because it's leading you to your, grandest version, to your highest version, to your realization of atonement and your oneness with God. So I do believe all paths are necessary, like Course in Miracles says, because even Christianity, I went to church. I started going to church after, I was in an abusive relationship in college. Um, I Yeah, my friends, like, took me to church, and I just felt the spirit of Jesus. I love Jesus, and I believe Jesus is the spirit of God, like Buddha and, all these other, powerful teachers too. And so he's just the one I follow. I don't think it's like he's the only way. Like I said, all paths are necessary. And in A Course in Miracles, it's a channeled text from Jesus, like through this lady, Helen, but it's a channeled text. And it even says it's really, we're all childs of God. That's kind of what the message was. Not like I'm the one child of God, but basically, like, we are the one. There is only one. Like, and so it was beautiful. It's just a beautiful message. But anyways, all paths are necessary, and I'm realizing, I went to Christianity, and then I didn't really believe with everything that I was reading in the Bible, and that, the church was saying when I was there, just about, like, love and who to love and how can you love, and, the one path, and everyone else needs to be converted. And it's going to happen. It really has already happened, like the manifested, like it's already been corrected. And so we're just seeming to, like, live out, you know this human experience. And so we can love it. We don't have to, like, shame ourselves for it. For a minute there I was like, well, I'm a spirit. I'm, in truth, I'm spirit. I should live as that and like not have desires of the material world, give up all desires and just be one with God. But it's like, if you're not ready for that, then that's fine. Like live, you can wake up and you can learn who you truly are and experience the world and feel no guilt about it because that's a big thing too. No guilt, only love. Okay, so I did take some notes. I feel like I'm weaving and teaching in stories. I usually don't do this too much, so I hope you're liking it because I'm a professor. I was a professor, so I usually like a very like curriculum based class, but I want to go more into yeah. So it's like with business nowadays, it's like personal branding. We have AI, so we don't need to like learn a lot of like curriculum. We can kind of get that on our own. So it's really like your lived experience, your knowledge that you've gained through, what you've done. And yeah, the transformation you've experienced, the some of my clients that they've experienced. I've run this mastermind group that was probably one of my favorite things to do, which I'm definitely going to be running one of those soon after the wedding and the honeymoon because that's like where all my focus is going. So I'm just doing this masterclass really because I just really want to get back into setting classes, setting goals, saying I'm going to do it, preparing for it, showing up. The nice thing is once you really understand, like, I'm guided, like, I believe Holy Spirit. I say Holy Spirit because that's what Course in Miracles says, but, divine love, however you feel it, source. Um, but I feel it's guiding us all the time, and that's why I need do nothing because you'll be guided into the next best step. Even when I got my last job, which worked out to be perfect because I just, of how all the events laid out, even though there was that moment of, not liking, not liking because I liked her, but just not vibing with the leadership styles. It was all working out. It was all working out for me because it led me to here. It led me to, planning my wedding. It led me to having the time and the space. Yeah, deepening my relationship with my fiance, deepening my relationship with my stepchildren, and just being able to enjoy. I just came back from Turks and Caicos last week, which was just super divine. And that really aided also, I feel like, in the manifestation of me leaving the job or the job letting me go because I knew I wanted to go on that trip, but I knew I couldn't do like I'd already taken, my time for workers' comp off. And then I was like, Turks and Caicos. And then I have my honeymoon coming up. We're going to Colombia. So I was like, okay, like having like this is why like having the 9 to 5 job model is really not for me. I mean, I had a remote job for about 3.5 years, which I really, enjoyed the lifestyle. But even then, it's like, what do you really love? What are you called for? What is your purpose? Like, do I feel like that's my purpose? But you're being led, it's all leading me here. I trust so much. And now here we are, full time in entrepreneurship. This is what we're doing. I've decided. Okay, what are you deciding? Let's get into the study now that we've kind of laid the groundwork. We've got a solid foundation. Okay, what is it that you are deciding to bring forth now into 2026? Really to bring forth in this Lionsgate energy. So, first of all, what do you want? So, definitely get out your journals if you haven't already. Talk about, write about, feel into who do I want to be? What do I want to accomplish? Think about the people you want around you, your environment, what kind of friend circles. Have you been online and like I would love to be a part of that friend circle? I've done that before. I've done that before and I thought I want to be a part of a friend circle. And then I went into that group and I was like, actually, I love it. And that's not exactly it. So, it's like going into different groups. So it's like, who do you want to be around? Who, like, what do you want your life to look like? Do you want to be a best-selling author? Do you want to have masterminds? Do you want to be a speaker? Do you want courses? Um, yeah, really get clear on it is what you want and do not worry about the how. Because a lot of people worry about the how, and that's where we get tripped up. Especially the how, it tells you like on Chat GDP what to do, like the how. But it's like, does what chat's saying even resonate with you? So you tapping into your own intuition through meditation, through being quiet, through feeling worthy of your desires, opening up to receive, and trusting, letting go of fear, because really fear is an illusion. And we hear this, cute little, false evidence appearing real. And really it's ego is like edging God out. So yeah, releasing the ego, like letting yourself, even if you're showing up and yeah, like, hair's not perfect, makeup's not done. It's like you're just following what your intuition tells you to do and knowing, trusting that you're guided, supported, all's going to be well. So even if you're going through something right now, know that it's happening for your good and anchoring in a moment that you got to the other side and it all worked out. Okay, so now that we know what we want, we have to release any thought patterns mostly because it's a world of thought, world of imagination. Anything that's holding you back from your past identity that doesn't serve you. So for me, being a 9 to 5 worker was not part of the vision. It just didn't align. I didn't have to think of how I'm gonna get out of this, how it was just like it worked seamlessly. I knew clearly what I want. Okay, like I want to be full-time in entrepreneurship, but I always had this safety net of a job. And it was like, I felt like it was the safe thing to do, but yeah, then I like got let go, right? So how safe is that? It's really like what do you believe and what do you want? And so I do believe, and I'm working on this belief more and more every single day. And it's like we have to take the actions, even like this, not perfect, but I'm showing up. And it's like as you take the actions, the consistency is going to pay off. It's like there's this universal bank. It's like the more you give, the more you get, the more value you put out, the more that's going to, the more valuable you are. That's really where the compensation comes from. But it's like you're valuable and you're worthy no matter what because you are. So people say like the paid to exist, but it's really just what do you believe? What do you expect? Because I've just seen miracles happen. I've seen random checks come in the mail, refunds out of nowhere that I didn't expect, money coming in that supposedly wasn't, even available for years that just showed up in a check in my mailbox. And so really miracles happen and you just trust. I feel like the more you trust, the more you're rewarded because that's our nature. And so anyways, what is it that you want? What is it you clearly want? Feel it as accomplished already. So this is really another big manifestation hack is living in the celebration of the end. So not necessarily the end like, oh, I'm showing up on YouTube, but celebration of the end, like when you did that thing, what would, let's say, yeah, you launched the mastermind. Um, and then how are you going to celebrate? So you launch the mastermind, get your first, paid person that enrolled. Like, what are you going to do to celebrate? So I know when I did that, I love this place near my house. It's this like lobster shack, and so like that's like a fun place. I always get to celebrate whenever I launched my book, and I was like, I'm going there to celebrate. Um, and so what is it? And then I know the first time I ever got my first paying client, I wanted to do like laser. And so one of my classmates at the time, because this was like 10 years ago back in my MBA school, she was like, why don't you, because she had done laser. And I was like, oh, I love that. And she's like, why don't you reward yourself after you get your first client to get laser? And so I was like, ooh, perfect. So that was like a push because I had like allocated where I want it to go. So that's a big one too. Like a lot of people in manifestation talk differently, but again, all paths are necessary. But it does help to know exactly where you want it to go. So clarity on, who you want to be around, what you want to be doing, where you want it to go. If it's, manifesting money, manifesting a trip, the more specific, the better. So, how much money and for what? I think this is big. Even if it's money to be sitting in your, investment account growing, I don't know, 15, 30% over the years, like what is it that you want to be seeing? Because we are creating this reality with our expectation, with our belief, with and the thing is, I believe all like infinite possibilities and like A Course in Miracles even says, a lot of other teachings will say, like Einstein says it, past, present, and future are all now. It's kind of like this holographic, Course in Miracles says holy instant. So it's like everything seems to be happening in a very linear way, but a lot of the metaphysical teachings that I've studied says it's all happening now. Just on the, so it's almost like, instead of linear, it's like horizontal. It's all just like this like instant, but that we're all living in. And so yeah, we can kind of choose to like wake up and get out of this dream world whenever we want, and not necessarily like we will just like die on the spot, but that like we're waking up and then soon after that it's like the body's just kind of not a necessary thing anymore, because that's how I experienced with my revelation. Like I felt so expanded that my like, some people are like, "Oh, it sounds like out of body," but there was no body, it was just so expansive, it's like this, like, I wanna say energy field just because you're trying to put words into, what we're doing, or, what just try it's like you can't even put words into experience like this, but it's like you just get so expanded into everything. It's like you are everything. It feels expansive, but it's like a grounded now moment. Like it's a grounded here we are, this is it, but it's everything. So it's this grounded here moment that is so full that just contains everything. And so it's yeah, like infinity. It's 8 right? This is infinity. And in that moment, it is the moment, but it's a moment that lasts forever because that's I feel like our true state, that's our heavenly state, but yeah, there's no body. It's just like this love, so deep and so profound. I just started crying like as I was like moving out of that and waking up back or not waking up, I guess falling back asleep into humanity in this 3D world. But it was such a deep sense of love and peace and knowing everything's all right, everything is perfectly as it's meant to be. But yeah, not necessarily the 3D world of the dream, time, space, but everything in truth is just okay. Like we're perfect, everything's at peace, and yeah, it's all encompassing. So, it's like what's all encompassing can have no opposites. That's what A Course in Miracles said, and that's what it felt like. There wasn't even an inkling thought of like fear could even be anything like that. It didn't even cross my it wasn't even any kind of thought like it could even be possible in that state. No lack, no limitations, so far expanded into this like ecstasy. And I've read it in Gary Renard's Disappearance of the Universe book, and it's like such this sense of ecstasy, like that it's like almost like an orgasmic feeling that never ceases. And so it's like you're at that peak of that or like orgasmic state, but it never ceases. And that's how it feels. And so it's hard to be in that state and be in the body of like limitations and separateness because it's just so big and so expansive. And I feel like, that's where we'll get to, but it's like we have to want that above, the material world. And there's nothing wrong with wanting the material world, but like believing, knowing like that's the truth. So that's my end goal is really to wake people up to that because like, hello, that's amazing. And it's just so peaceful and loving, but we can live happy in the dream. So it's like teaching that's the truth and teaching while we're here in the dream, we can, learn all our lessons and let it be a happy dream. So yeah, we can wake up enjoy, a lot of sometimes I've, like, been on a lot of podcasts for Course in Miracles, and, they've told me, like, "Yeah, it's really hard," and I think there's some teachings that have been like, "Oh, if you think this is gonna be easy work," like and it's not always easy, and it's like, you can't hide in a cave and think like, "Oh" or maybe we can, right? It's all belief. But, the work is working with, like, our brothers and sisters here, that's what I think Course in Miracles said. Not yeah, they kinda say brothers, it's kind of a singular, like him, him, him. Um, but yeah, just like that's how we wake up. It's like being confronted with these seemingly separate people who really are just projections of us that are just helping us to kind of wake up. Okay, so anyways, we did the step one, with deciding what it is we want, what we're gonna do to celebrate when we get it, who we need to be, who we need to hang around, do we need to get mentors? We are really trusting ourselves, trusting our intuition. We're meditating on just yeah, the visualization, the mind map movie of who you are, what you've done, but then also the quietness so we can get still and get the downloads. That's that intuition, spirit speaking to us and then acting on it, just following what it says. It tells you to do something, do it. I want to see you live out your most abundant life. My goal is to really wake everyone up from the dream to live in a constant state of peace, love, joy, expansion, abundance. Part two coming soon. Love you guys.